Hello, welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. We hear so much in the way of statistics, but this one is a devastating one. Children as young as 10 years of age in our community are taking their own lives because they've reached a point of desperation or they have no one there to help them make a better choice to save their own lives. Would you please welcome my guest, Kelly Perosa of Liberty House, to tell us what is behind a new initiative they have called iRespect and Protect. Kelly.
Thank you, Wendy. And yeah, it is startling to understand that in the state of Oregon and in our community here, that the leading cause of death amongst people between the ages of 10 and 24 is suicide. And we got curious as to what could we do from our perspective, which is always about keeping children safe. What could we do to prevent that? In 2018, we were invited into a discussion with law enforcement. That's the Sheriff's Office, Salem Police Department, small towns, the police departments in Staten. And then we got curious and we continued to listen. And let's invite folks in our community, educators, school administrators, faith community leaders, business leaders, mental health professionals, medical providers. So we held focus groups for about 2 years. And eventually, because the wisdom of youth is paramount to our success here, we were able to connect with the help of Salem Keizer Schools primarily to youth, as well as some youth serving organizations, and said, what do you think about this? At one point, the suggestion amongst the adults was maybe we should ban cell phones from schools. That would really help. Being a former educator, I kind of said, and I tried to be gentle, that's probably not going to work. When we went and talked to youth, and youth generally were teenagers, some middle schoolers, but primarily high schoolers, they said, we agree that there's a problem with phones, and we agree that there's a problem with mental illness, but cell phones are not the problem. They disagreed that cell phones were the problem. As they thought and talked further, they said, okay, we actually understand about the risks of social media and the risks of some of the things that happen online. We know it all. We've talked about it, but we'd really like to help you help our younger selves, our younger versions of ourselves, our younger brothers and sisters. And they further discuss what we have is a mental health crisis. And we really think that you should focus on that. And so that's what we did. And so you'll see when we get to the website that we landed in a place that says that we wanted to create a program, a community movement, community campaign, if you will, that fosters self-worth, that promotes healthy online choices, and supports safe relationships, because our kids and we as adults have to learn how to talk to each other about the hard things. We have to find brave spaces to have hard conversations.
If anyone is listening who knows a person or is themselves suffering from some severe anxiety or depression or even having suicidal thoughts, there is help. Kelly, give us some information about that.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Well, first of all, if you are not safe right now, please call 911. There are trained professionals to help you immediately. If you are a teen and looking for an opportunity to text or talk with some other teens, there's something called the Oregon Youth Line, and you can text it. The text number is 839-863. And you just text teen to teen and you'll have peer support right there. That is one of the best resources that we have found in our work here. Thanks for letting me share that, Wendy. I appreciate that.
I really am looking forward to being walked through your website. Take us there, Kelly.
Okay, we'll see how this works here.
Tell us what the address is, please.
Yeah, it's www.irespectandprotect.com, spelling out the word and.
I really like those speech bubbles. They say, I feel alone. I can't connect with anyone in real life. Did you see their post? I don't even know who my kids are today. Call me. Let's talk. That's where everybody is these days, it seems.
That's where everybody is these days. We wanted to bring attention to the fact that 41% of teens feel overwhelmed by the number of notifications they receive daily. It's a real thing, and adults in the professional world have tried to figure that out. Do I respond to the email on my phone right now? Do I let my kids text me during the day at work? Our teens are feeling the same pressure that we are, which is why we have to keep youth and parents connected in this conversation. So the other things I wanted to point out right from the start is that we have a little button at the top here that says English. If you click on that, we can translate this website into several languages, and these are primarily languages that we know exist in the Salem-Keizer School District, because we tend to refer to them as we're piloting a lot of things. We have a dedicated Espanol page, just so that those folks in the Spanish-speaking community can access this and get instructions as how to translate the site into Spanish.
We speak so many different languages in our community, and having it dedicated to the largest population of speakers in Spanish is very good news to have. And what is this? Respond to the call.
This is our action item to get people involved, and we tried to create an action item that provided education at the same time. I'm going to invite us to go and click on Learn More and find out what the 5 steps to change your digital habits are. But all you do is click on the Respond to the Call bar, and you click Start Now. And there's 5 steps to go through. Each one has a statistic to begin with. For example, educate yourself. If you click on the link, what you will see is some statistics. In 2012, over 15% of students reported cyberbullying in the past months. That was nearly a decade ago, if you think about this statistic. The iPhone had only been released for 5 years. So understand that the iPhone, which we would call smartphones now, smartphones were released in 2007. And by 2012, we have 15% of kids saying they're bullying me on this phone. But these are the kinds of things that are going to lead to those kiddos who are feeling so alone if they're feeling bullied from this tool. How can we address that? Teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on electronic devices are 35% more likely to have at least one suicide risk factor. The average amount of time that teens spend on their phones, I think it's earlier in the statistics, is 7.5 hours a day. That was pre-COVID numbers. So now we're on our devices even further now that we're isolated. 71% of teenagers said they consider talking, catching up, and spending time with family members as the best part of family dinners. So those 2 statistics are the bandwidth that we're working within. And so there is something that we can do about this. Research examining 5,000 teenagers has shown that when children eat with their parents regularly, they are more likely to be emotionally strong and have better mental health. And I'm going to just kind of step aside. Some families, their life doesn't work to have dinner together. So let's change that to time together. We don't have to always read this exactly as it is. But like I said, we just encourage people to look at all the statistics, have a conversation with the people that they are partnering with to raise kids or in their organization. So that's just the intention of that, this PDF, is to just help you learn some information that can get you started. I'm going to go back to the page. And I'm going to say, Wendy, you've done a great job. And I'm going to confirm that you've educated yourself a little bit here.
I see I get to click in the radio box that says confirm and click next. That means that, yes, I've educated myself. This is all under respond to the call. We've done education. Now we're at assess.
Assess. And so again, assess yourself. How much screen time do you allow yourself each day? How much time do you let your kids be on screen? When do you use your devices? We have to look at ourselves before we really start talking to the kids about their practices.
I'm really struck by the last sentence. Are my devices defining me? That's really important. And your children may have a different view. Your children, your friends, your family may have a different view of that than you do, and vice versa. It's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of our motivation was we realized that we were getting into that world of helping parents learn how to be better parents. And that's not always comfortable. You know, parents don't necessarily come seeking that advice. And so we wanted to create ways to have conversation starters and help that family define what their values are around things. which is our third step on responding to the call. Choose your values. What values are most important to you, your family, your organization? Do you control your time, or does your phone? What about your notifications? How do you feel when you receive a ding or a chime? We have a tool that you could use to help you identify your values. And those are your personal values for yourself and your family, or possibly your organization. Shall we move to the next part, Wendy?
Yes, take us there.
We're going to plan.
Right.
So hopefully you've looked at your values, using the values that are most important to you, create your own digital media contract. And I am going to click here to give folks that can see this an idea. You could use this for your organization, but we started with this very positive. Instead of device time, what could we do?
Cooking together, playing a board game, driving to a new location, spending time outside when the weather is nice. All these are good suggestions. Learning a new hobby together. People can use that as a springboard for their own ideas about what they'd like to do.
Yeah. And then here we tried to get in some of those more, folks have heard what just terrible accidents have happened because people are distracted by their devices, crossing the street while texting and not seeing that traffic is not moving or moving in a direction that could hurt them. So, again, this is a great conversation starter with your kids or your spouse or your partners in life. It's really interesting how that could be used to address somebody who is, you're visiting with, and yet they're always distracted by their phone. And then again, for the kids that, we're going to set some boundaries of how to use that phone. And then the last piece is to just encourage this movement, encourage the conversation, help others discover the website. Well, there's two ways to get to other places on the page. The one is through these boxes that say for teens, for kids, for parents, or for organizations, or you can go to the top and go to the drop-down menu there. But I wanted to share with the parent page. We have something called Lobby Talks, where we invite families to come in and talk about the topic. Anybody want to participate in that, just give us a call. We'll be happy to schedule that. These will be updated. This is another one of those staggering statistics in our area. The percentage of youths who attempted suicide one or more times in the previous 12 months. So this is Marion County, 10% of 8th graders and 7% of 11th graders. It's shocking.
Wait a minute, bring that by again. 10% of 8th graders and 7% of 11th graders have attempted suicide one or more times in the previous 12 months?
Yes. So that's according to the Oregon Healthy Teen Survey. I think the last time they did it, the kids were still in school. So that was 2019. 1% is too high. If we don't have avenues for our kids to talk about this is not going to change. And so part of what we're doing, the first thing that we're looking at in our mission statement is fostering self-worth. And the third thing is supporting safe relationships, is we've got to help our kids figure out who are the safe people to talk to. Sometimes we hope that it's caregivers, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a coach or a teacher or a extended family member, an aunt and uncle, or even an older sibling. But we have to encourage our kids to find ways to talk about the hard things. On each page, we have two more sections. One is called tools, and these are things that we developed with the help of the staff at Liberty House, in particular our trauma-informed mental health counselors at Hope and Wellness Services. And, they kind of helped us go, what kind of language is the right way to use? So one of the things that I like to just point out really fast is this is just it was easy for us to do, I'll be honest. But these are conversation starters that you might want to have with your children. And I love some, it depends on where you are with your kids as to which conversation you might want to start with. This is what you do sitting around on an afternoon instead of being on your cell phones, perhaps.
I like reading these. What's one thing you'd like to do together more? Who helps you feel special and worthy? What does it mean to be safe? And what do you think I do on my phone when I am on it? A good conversation starters. The list is excellent.
I think the thing that I like about this list is that we as the parents or the caregivers for these kids, we're going to have to be prepared to hear what their perception of our cell phone and device use is. We can't just point all of it at our kids to set boundaries. We're going to have to set some boundaries for ourselves. So that was something I wanted to share with you. And then the other thing is each page has resources, like similar to the one that I grabbed off my wall that I keep handy. And there are local parent resources. There's resources on a more national level that can help get into the topics of cyberbullying, sexting, sextortion, all of that, and then mental health resources. So there's just a lot of resources on every page. On the parent page, we actually list a lot of our trainings. We have a whole prevention education arm in our department here. And so we are ready to help you learn things that maybe you hadn't thought about before, and keeping your kids safe, and then learning how to talk to your kids about the hard things.
Go a little bit more in depth about cyberbullying, could you? Because parents, I'm sure, don't want to think their child is either a victim or a perpetrator of cyberbullying.
Sure. Our logo actually is very much around that topic. I respect and protect. So when we were kids, notice I haven't given my age, Wendy. When we were kids, there were probably moments at school where we felt bullied. Somebody said something mean to us. It hurt our feelings. And we responded in a variety of ways. I may even have unthoughtfully said something uncaring that could be considered being a bully in that moment. But what happened before cell phones came along is that we then went home. That bully generally didn't follow us home. They weren't with us throughout the evening. When we got to school the next day, it most likely was forgotten. And if it wasn't, hopefully you could go to a teacher who would help you, that class manage that. What happens now is that bully, that moment of the goofy time when I dropped something in the cafeteria is now on video. And then it's posted and circulated, and people comment and they forward it to others, and it doesn't go away. So we need to figure out a way that says, I respect myself and I respect you enough not to start it in the beginning. I'm going to protect you enough by not forwarding it. But it is, the cyberbullying is on, it's 24/7 with these phones. And the fascinating thing is I've have personal experience with some young people in my life where they are so connected to that phone, the bullying starts and they don't block that person. They want to hear what is the next, or read what is the next thing that they're going to say. And I wasn't the parent in that moment. I couldn't be the one that says, we're taking your phone away, or I'm blocking that person right now. We have to figure out those conversations, because there are going to be bullies out there. Let's protect ourselves enough, respect ourselves enough, respect others enough to stop it as it starts.
One of the ideas that you mentioned earlier on had to do with how much help kids could be to their younger selves. How would you develop that idea?
So we have been actively trying to connect with youth, and I have a few that there are just some phenomenal young people out there. Kids who have senior projects or, scouting projects, whatever their organization is, where they have to do some community service hours. We want to encourage them to contact us, and we'll come up with something that fits into what they're interested in, as long as we can fit it under that umbrella of fostering self-worth, making good online choices, or finding the ways to identify safe folks in your life.
Older youth helping their younger selves through young kids who could really actually would listen to them, and because they've been there and would understand. That's just an interesting idea. One of the things I'm getting out of all of this is that one of the big draws in being too connected to the phone or your devices or media is the fear of not being connected to it and feeling even more alone. And it's a self-feeding thing. Are we onto something with that?
Absolutely. And that it's so complicated now. I had one young person, junior in high school, said, isn't it ironic that we're talking about this device, and yet we're required to have some kind of a digital device to learn right now? And it's just sort of this it's a mess right now, quite honestly. And so we just will, Liberty House is always about full of hope. Like, what can we do that is in the right steps and positive and offering hope? And I'm so hopeful that we're going to learn how to talk about this. And I so appreciate you being interested in talking about it, Wendy. It's like, this is how the word spreads. And just the mention of what we're doing usually gets people to sort of pause and go, you have a point. And from that moment, they're going to start thinking a little bit about it, even if they haven't been on our website yet.
I do invite people, in fact, encourage them, whether you're a young person or a teen or a parent or an organization, to take a look at iRespect and Protect website, because it has so many things for every individual to learn something. You're going to come away with a better understanding of what we face as a community and the tools you need to kind of take media into your own hands and run it instead of it running you. And it's going to take a little bravery, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. We are, one of the things I'm practicing, because it's new terminology to me, is that creating spaces for brave conversations. We're going to have to be brave about things. And it's hard as an adult to look at yourself through the eyes of your child and realize, I modeled this for my child. I got them hooked on a cell phone because when they were 2, it was how I got through my grocery shopping in the afternoon or whatever. I set them up. I'm going to have to figure out how to deprogram that a little bit, and I'm going to have to start with myself.
I also encourage kids to take a look at your website. There's an awful lot of fun things that you can do. You connect them with games, with all kinds of activities that they could enjoy and that are safe. And yes, that's one thing that's important. But take us again to the unfortunate dark side, that there's an unhappy ending for kids who aren't caught in time when they feel themselves caught and desperate because of the devices they use, or whatever reason they feel desperate and alone. What's the help that they can get?
Well, the help is reach out to anybody. I will preface this by a conversation I had last October after the wildfires had stopped in our area. We still had a contentious election going on. This is probably the most traumatized generation of youth we've had in this country. We've had a pandemic, we've had wildfires, we've had contentious elections, we now have distance learning. And these children are isolated. They are, a lot of them are in trouble. And so if we can encourage parents to be open to your kids seeking safe relationships, it might not be with you. If you started the conversation, it will be you. But be open to identifying who are the safe people in their lives that they can talk to. That's the biggest way to start. And then if we can start looking at ourselves, that's the hope. And I truly believe we want to help our kids. I know we do. And we are all overwhelmed ourselves. And so we're just going to have to work really hard at just being open on baby steps. It just starts with a conversation starter. What would you do if? What would you do if you got a picture of a body part on your phone? Just ask them that. What would they do?
And all of this gets us back to that wonderful image of people enjoying, as kids say they do, conversations, dinner time, being around the table, talking to each other, talking face to face, and having that airspace where you have eyes on someone else and listening to them, and they're talking to you and you're talking to them. And good things have always started when people actually want to talk and listen. I think this is a good idea.
Yeah, well, thank you, Wendy. We do too.
Go to iRespectandProtect.com. It's a wonderful organization. Liberty House has put together a wonderful website, and with great plans to make it a big community contribution in the conversation about what do we do with these devices that seem to control our lives and take charge of them. Thank you, Kelly Perosa, Liberty House. I appreciate your conversation today. And thank you for joining us today on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. If you or someone you know is not safe right now, call 911. There are trained professionals able to help you immediately. If you are a teen looking for an opportunity to text or talk to another teen, you can with the Oregon Youth Line. The text number is 839-863. You just text teen to teen and you'll have peer support right there. That's the Oregon Youth Line. Text teen to 839-863.